Thank you, Jeff, and good first year, your rookie year. You're our vote for that. I missed all you guys.
I granted to Blake Jeffrey on.
I missed all you guys yesterday. Where was everybody? It's been a nice run here, and getting to see almost everybody on a daily basis covering the Predators. That was a lot of fun, and I really want to thank you for all your participation and all the coverage that we had. I think it goes without saying that it was the most coverage that we've ever had of this franchise. So thank you very much. Last year, when Barry and I were in front of you, we were talking about how much the loss to Chicago hurt, and it did hurt. And we were certainly hoping that lessons were learned from that. And I think we can all say that lessons were learned and our players responded correctly. This year we went further than we've ever gone before. We won our first playoff series. We won our first overtime game. In fact, we won two when the second overtime against Vancouver. We won 4 road games. We'd only won 1 road game before in our history. We won a game when we were facing elimination in Game 5 in Vancouver. So we got that taste of playoff success. We learned how to close out a series. And I think we also learned how hard it is to win the Stanley Cup. Proud of our players. Our top players elevated their games both in the regular season and the playoffs. Our young players, our role players, made significant contributions in the regular season, oftentimes because of injuries, and in the playoffs they played a very valuable role also. We finished the season with the 5th youngest team in the National Hockey League. I think the play of our younger players has really validated our building plan and our structure. I mean, Blake won 2-2, Weber, Suter, Rennie, Hornquist, Erad, Jeffrey, Blum, Wilson, Klein, Franson, O'Reilly, Lindback, Spalling. 15 of the players on our roster at the end of the year were draft choices, and all the credit there goes to our scouting staff, led by Paul Fenton, Jeff Kelty, and our development in Milwaukee with Lane Lambert and Ian Herbers as a coach down there. As Jeff mentioned, I think a significant part of our season was due to our organization and our ownership and our organizational direction with Jeff and Sean. I think, as he said, and I'm using the same words, we went under a little bit of a cultural change. That really reinforced that we're here to win. I mean, we've been having a tough time getting that off my lips, and it starts at the top here. We don't want to talk about the Stanley Cup, and we're an expansion team, and we're getting better and all this stuff, but we're here to win the Stanley Cup, and that was certainly reinforced by ownership. You saw that in our ability to add Mike Fisher at exactly the right time. You saw that in the building when they brought in the dehumidifier to handle hopefully some of the summer weather that we're finally getting here. And you saw that in the sellouts that Jeff and his staff worked so hard to get the 16 sellouts this year. And as I said earlier, we saw that just reflected by the media coverage that we got by all of you. It was nice to see that we've got some league-wide recognition. Barry being up for the Coach of the Year, Pekka being up for the Vezina Trophy for the best goaltender, and Shea being up for the Norris Trophy for the best defenseman. We also got local recognition that Shea Weber was recognized as National Sports Person of the Year, and Blake Jeffrey was named the Male Amateur Athlete of the Year. So that was all good. One season ends and the next season starts, and I guess that's what this address is all about. When we look back a year ago, it was a year and a week ago, because we had just been eliminated and we had our scouting meetings. That's when we had the flood here in Nashville. And just from our own organizational situation, there were so many things that the flood threw off. Like, all this downstairs was a complete mess. As you all knew, the water was 2 or 3 feet high. Our whole locker room had to be redone. And I guess you could say that it was somewhat of a devastating situation. We got a beautiful new locker room that we're very proud of. It's state of the art, and I really think it helped with our team and our organization, getting guys working out and all those different things. Next thing we decided to do in the off season, we decided to change our leadership when we traded Jason Arnott, and we named Shea Weber our captain, Ryan Suter assistant, and Steve Sullivan the other assistant. And you make a lot of different changes in that, but that's certainly one that's very significant for our team, and hopefully will be a significant change for many, many years in our franchise. The next step we took was signing Matthew Lombardi to add some speed and to skill to our lineup. Then the season started. We're all set to go. Game 1, we had this plan that Pekka would play like the first 20 games because we had Anders Lindback, and we didn't know whether he was ready to play whatever. He could play like the first 20 games. Well, Pekka gets hurt in the first game of the season, Lindback comes in. He's got to go play in the second game because Becca's hurt. He wins in Chicago, no nerves in the United Center in his second game. Matthew Lombardi goes down to concussion. He's out for the rest of the season. I think we knew right there, Barry, that this was not going to be your normal season. So it went from there. I mean, 330 man games lost. 173 of those man games lost were at the center position alone. And then, as I certainly give credit to Barry, Peter, Mitch, Brent for the coaching job, and the players. I mean, they kept it together. They kept being competitive despite all the injuries. O'Reilly, Gotch, LSF. Well, finally, we made the deal. Ownership gave me the green light to make the deal for Mike Fisher. That was the piece that got us over the hump. No sooner did we get Fisher than Marcel Gotch goes out for the rest of the season. And then we're after the trading deadline. We have our last big road trip. We go to the West Coast. We come back on March 9th. I think we're in 10th, 11th spot. And then the rest is history. We went 11, 3-1 in the last 15 games to secure a playoff spot. And that's what got us here today. So good job by our team. Great job by our coaching staff. And I'll let Barry Trotz take over from here. Just a couple of closing thoughts here. I think as we prepare for the 11-12 season, I think we're in a good place. I mean, we've made the playoffs 6 of the last 7 years, as I said earlier. We've got 15 of our draft choices in our lineup. That's the way I want to build this team primarily. I think the pipeline is looking pretty good. We had the good fortune in Milwaukee the last couple of weeks to have a lot of our younger players like Austin Watts and Michael Latta, Taylor Beck, and Ryan Thang, and Gabriel Borg, all playing in Milwaukee. Craig Smith has been playing. He's a kid from Wisconsin that Blake Jeffrey played with. He's now playing in the World Championship for U.S. and playing on the top line, and Barry's had a chance to watch a couple of games. He looks real good on defense. Some of our young prospects like Roman Yossi, Ryan Ellis is now in Milwaukee. He won the OHL Player of the Year award, and we've got a Swedish defenseman that we might be bringing over next year, Matthias Ekholm, who was like the Rookie of the Year in Sweden. Last year, he's a 6'4" defenseman. So pipeline looks pretty good. A couple of handouts that Jerry and Kevin have given you. There's the contract status of everybody in our organization. Priorities, of course, are Shea Weber, our captain. He's a restricted free agent. I've had many discussions with he and his agents over the year, and in the next couple of weeks, we're going to sit down and see what we can do about the future with Shea. We have some unrestricted free agents that we want to talk to in the next couple of weeks. Marcel Gotch, Shane O'Brien, Joe Ward, and Steve Sullivan. We're going to sit down with them, Barry and I, in the next couple of days, and then we'll go from there on those guys. We've got a couple of injury situations that obviously are quite worrisome. One, two are the concussions, and in Matthew Lombardi, where I really don't have any update. I mean, he's feeling better, but is he progressing like we can confidently say he's going to play? The answer is no at this time. Julian is getting better. It appears that he's a little bit ahead of Lombardi, but again, they're worrisome. The worrisome situations that we have to deal with in the off season. You also have a sort of a critical date calendar that's been handed out. Again, for us, the awards, it'd be a pleasure to go there with Barry, Pekka, and Shea. We have the NHL draft coming up at the end of June, which is always a big day for the Predators. We have our conditioning camp the day after that on June 26th. And again, any of you that have a chance want to get to a nice cool place at that time of year, I really think it's a neat environment to see our younger up-and-coming players, because everybody that's for the Predators primarily that hasn't been traded for has come to these conditioning camps, and it's a good first step to see them. And then we've got a training camp, I think, on September 12th, but we'll let that go for right now.